responsible for the actual. All right. We are recording this, so if some of our friends can't make it, they should have access to the recording through the Women Who Code channels. Welcome everyone who's here. Thank you for spending your, Thursday evening with us. This is Building Your Portfolio Using Amazon S3, organized and hosted and being run by Pradeepa and Stella. I'll just go ahead and let them introduce themselves. So, Pradeepa, over to you.
Thank you, Isha. So I'm Pradeepa. I am a senior solutions architect at Vertis. I'm also one of the Women Who Code leader, part of the software development track. I'm always excited to share whatever I've learned. Though I know a little, I thought whatever I've learned, I'll share it because at least someone will learn about it. So educating and learning new stuff is what I'm so excited about. And one of the quirks is like, I used to travel alone in bus. That's my favorite thing. That's my hobby. So when I have to think out, like something to clear my head, that's my go-to thing for us. So yeah, that's about me. I'm sure Stella will have her own quirk. So I just wanted to learn more about it. So I'll ask Stella, what's your quirk?
Oh no, I shouldn't share. Hey everybody, hey everyone. I'm Stella. So I'm actually right now a senior cloud native architect at Broadcom. So I started my journey as a software engineer. It's just that somehow I fall in love with DevOps. So here I am right now with DevOps, and I'm really happy to share whatever knowledge I have and learn from any one of you as well. So my quirks, Actually, I like to go to like supermarket to clear my head off. It's kind of funny, but it's just like when I feel stressed, when I go to the supermarket, I just feel quite at ease. even I didn't really buy anything, but of course I like to go to like snack area because I keep pondering which particular snack I should buy. But even though I know that it's not really good for health, but yeah, that's something that I really like to.
Isha, you should share about yours.
Definitely. So, thanks for joining, Sarah. Really excited for the workshop you have lined up. Yes, I will go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Isha. I'm one of the evangelists at Women Who Code. I am a advertising solutions architect at Google, and I have been part of Women Who Code now for, I believe, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. So I think the current Women Who Code team, I'm the only one left from what used to be Women Who Code when I joined. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur on the team here now. Since I'm the elder millennial sharing my way.
We wanted to sound better, so we would like to call you a senior. You can guide us.
Oh yeah,
sure. Thanks. I appreciate it. My quirk is I talk to my cat in the exact same voice that my mother used to talk to me in when I was a child, and it's something I have realized very recently. So I guess that's
You're becoming the mother.
Yeah, so I've become my mother in a very specific kind of way. But I don't think he minds. Like my cat doesn't mind.
But then he can't talk back.
He'll probably make an appearance at some point. With that, thanks everyone. If you can hear us okay, if you can see us okay, and if you're excited to get started, give us a thumbs up or any other reaction that you like on Zoom. I don't know what the reactions on Zoom. I use Meet at work. So, okay, a thumbs up. Okay, I need at least one. Okay. I see a few thumbs up. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. All right, let me talk a little bit about Women Who Code before we jump into the workshop itself. We at Women Who Code, our mission is to empower diverse women to excel in technology careers. Our vision is to have a tech industry where diverse women and historically excluded people thrive at every level. And from my own personal experience, I can say definitely something Women Who Code really cares about, strives towards, and we would love to see a world where Women Who Code exists as a default and not as a separate group that requires evangelizing. So hopefully all of you here will help us in that vision. And some of our core values are to focus on the mission, which is to remember why we are here and what we're here for, who we're here for. We want to design for inclusion. We want to make space for people. We want to make space for everybody, especially those who have been historically excluded, historically underrepresented, and continue to be so in tech today, and to embody a culture of belonging for everyone. We also advocate for change. So we live leadership, we live to champion each other, and we very sincerely believe that we are more powerful as a community than individuals. And finally, we focus on the journey forward, which is to celebrate our wins, break barriers, and continue to help each other recharge and rejuvenate through whatever ways we can. So that's a little bit of an intro to Women Who Code. I will now hand you over to your wonderful hosts and presenters. And I guess, Stella, over to you to just jump right in. Stella, you're on mute.
Hold on. Let me share my screen. Right, folks, before we start, can we get everybody to go through this particular slido.com? Let's make it interactive because we want to know more about, the different kind of like cloud computing that you're interested in to learn more before we really share with you what is actually today's workshop. So can everybody try to go to the slido.com, and after that, please key in this particular numbers. Oh, sorry. Please key in like that specific number inside the box.
The other way, I think the QR code directly works. So if you want to,
okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
just scan the QR code. It will
scan
directly.
the QR code. Yeah, I could see a few participants typing. So yeah. All right, networking, general knowledge. All right, blockchain. How many people we have? Okay. Deployment. I think still there are people still typing. Okay. I see there are 10 people. Right.
There is more than one vote. I
everyone?
think that it will enlarge. So general knowledge has more. I think,
Okay. All right. I hope that I don't miss anyone though. There are 14 participants minus 3, so it's about 11. Okay. Oops. Oh my God. Hold on. All right. I think we almost have everybody. I think it's about 10. All right. So general knowledge. Sure. So I think this is something that we will kind of like cover today as well. But the rest of them will take it as a feedback. Well, we definitely want to cover all this area of interest as well. So just before we start as well, we would like to know about a few things about you. Can we just have like a understanding of how many years of experience that you folks have in the IT industry? Mm, okay. think 5 more people. Still 3 more. Okay, I think we have 3 more people. Or maybe the people who typed more than yesterday, just now. Okay, I guess that's about it. Thank you. All right, so I think most of you like about 1 year, 1 year in IT industry. All right, so now let's move on to the agenda for today. Oh, sorry, wrong. So the agenda for today is like we're gonna introduce the DevOps and cloud, and then we'll follow with the workshop to build your portfolio in AWS S3. So before we even talk about DevOps, we would like to bring you into sort of like a understanding. So what's the difference between software development back then and now, to understand why DevOps is important? So back then, the software development are pretty much unidirectional and silo. So you can imagine it's like, when you're done with the requirement gathering, once you're done with that, then you move to the design. And then once then, you just move to development, testing, and maintenance. So this type of process is actually working because the product, working only on the product that are well defined, such as like manufacturing and construction. So what it means is like, for instance, when you make a car, you definitely know, kind of like you need a wheel and you need the bodies, and these are all sort of like a general guidelines on how you make a car, right? So you can't have the body without the wheels attached or something like that. So these are kind of like a quite well-defined requirement. Therefore, this kind of like process of silo and unidirectional could work. But however, at this moment, nowadays people are actually kind of like built some applications, and they are all microservices. So all these microservices, as you see in the slides, it consists of multiple services, and they are all built by different teams at any single time. So such way of like doing things in silo or unidirectional will not work, because things are rapidly changing from the different services, and they are all dependent on each other. So if you do the same way as what you did, it's going to lead to a failure. So over the time, what we notice, in order to succeed in such a scenario where you have a different multiple teams that needs to collaborate, that comes about the understanding of like, yes, there is a need for communication between all of these different teams for the kind of like good integration, such that when you build your application, this can be shipped faster, as there are this kind of like, as if there's any change in service A, the service B will then know what are the things that needs to be changed to fulfill what service A required. So that's why it is what DevOps is required. What is the DevOps in general? So DevOps actually stands for a development operation. So as you see here, right, it's about having different development teams working together in collaboration, and that's where DevOps is actually. So as what the names suggested, right, is a development operation. The definition of it is actually a combination of practice and tools to increase organization ability to deliver application and services at high velocity. So the idea is that when you become very collaborative, you have a good integration with each other, you can then deliver your application to the users as quickly as possible. So then now explaining this particular kind of situation, explain why is it very important to have DevOps. Because in terms of business, you definitely want to ensure that you can ship your features to your customers as soon as possible. You will also want to save costs and resources, right? Especially time. And in terms of like the development, as I sort of like briefly mentioned just now, as you're working with different teams, you want to improve efficiency between the teams, and you want them to actually collaborate and communicate easily. So anyone have any question with regards to this, or any doubt or something like that? Okay. So now I will just move on to the next one. So this is a sort of like a introduction of what DevOps. So now we know about the need, right, to have that collaboration, that team, because we wanted to create an application which can be used by us. So now I bring about, let's talk about the application itself. For instance, when you're using Microsoft Word, right, or you're using your web browser, how do you actually use them? You need to access your laptop, right? Or you have to access your mobile phone. Because without that laptop or your mobile phone, you can't actually have access to your web browser or even your Microsoft Word to do your work. So that's why I guess that's where this particular term cloud is required, because you can maybe just don't think about like why do we need cloud at this moment, but think about that scenario where you need to access your Microsoft applications. You need a laptop. So in a laptop scenario, right, you have a few things. You have a hard disk, you have a storage, right? What is the storage? Pretty much it's like if it's that's what it means, the storage. So like if you have a lot of data, a lot of files in your laptop, you will not be able to maybe install the new application. So you know that there is this finite measurement of things within the laptop, which is storage, right? So now you have CPU and memory. So for instance, if your laptop died, even if there is laptop there, you can't actually do anything about it, right? So that's why you need the CPU and memory. So when you have a CPU and memory, when you access your application, you could do any operation that you want to. Last but not least is Wi-Fi, or in this case is network. I'm not going to deep dive into networking, but the idea here is that for an application, even the user to have a fruitful kind of experience of what they want, they need at least these three, in the laptop. So now when I want to think about, before we even talk about cloud, now we know that for an application to be able to used by the end users, which is us, we do need a place. In our case, in our day-to-day is our laptop, where it can hold all these applications so that we can use it. But then now when we think about a big corporation, as you see here, right, that means it's equivalent to like we need multiple laptops, because when you are in a big corporation, you have an application that can be scalable. Like for instance, like Netflix can reach out to like a few millions or billions of people across the world. So there should be like a lot of laptops generally, right? If you think about it. So you see here, like there's this one person helping all this laptop to host all the applications that this particular company is working on, so that the users can enjoy the benefit of using it. But in reality, it's not really a lot of laptop. So what this company have is like servers. You can see here is the rack of servers in a place called data center. So this is like this is what happened in real life. So instead of multiple laptops, it's like data centers. But now the question is like having a data centers, it actually comes with its own challenges. As you see here is a physical rack containing all these laptops sort of. And the challenges comes with like, security concern, because basically someone can just go inside your data center and store your data. Technically, the servers containing all the information that is important, right? And then scalability and flexibility as well, because as your application grows, when your application is only reaching 100 people compared to 10,000 people, you may need more servers. As mentioned earlier, right? So your laptop, you have a hard disk, it has a storage. It's a finite kind of amount. So you can't just you can't grow your laptop as you want. Now you only have 250 gigabyte, that's about it. You need to live with it. So that's where the scalability comes, and it's sort of like the flexibility in a way, right? Because now you need to buy a new rack, as you have to sort of like have more servers. Of course, it costs cost and performance, because you need to, but you need to buy the actual servers, you need to buy the OS, you may need to hire more people, maybe to set up and all those things, as it comes with the efficiency problems. And the three things that I find that is quite real, it is like power supply failure, power shortages. This is something that is out of our control, because maybe there will be especially something like natural disaster may happen, right? Or fire beside the building where the data center is located. So if that happens, pretty much we are doomed because then all those servers that hosting the application will not be able to survive all this thing, and your customers will get impacted, and that's equivalent to losing a lot of money as well. Yeah. So therefore, as in general, like, it's not saying that you shouldn't have your own data center. I will say that there are people who actually, there's few corporations, especially maybe like bank, they'll have their own data centers as well to keep their data safe, right? Because now, but again, it's kind of like based on the choice, I will say, but it's just that it comes with its own challenges if you have your own data centers. So with all this, a few big companies, such as like Google, AWS and Azure, there are any others, they try to sort of like take part in that or take that responsibility on behalf of the users or the corporation. So instead of maybe a company A have their own data centers and build it from scratch, now this responsibility is kind of pass it over to all these cloud providers. So cloud provider, I mean, when you say cloud, it's not, doesn't mean that the machine is on the cloud on the sky. I think everybody knows about that. It just meant that the physical rack is maintained by all these companies. All right. So anyone have any question? If not, I shall continue then. All right. So so now I just want to kind of like briefly re-mention, maybe instead of like why do you need cloud, maybe it's like why do you need a platform? In the general, it's because as mentioned, right, if let's say all these applications doesn't have a home, and it's pretty like, for instance, like these servers, users can't actually access them eventually either in like mobile phone or like laptop and all those things. So that's like, it's a place, sort of like a place where application residing. So that is why do we even need it in the first place. So briefly, we mentioned about data centers, right? And it comes with its own challenges. Again, for all these cloud providers, when they build a data centers, they need to ensure that they can actually cover situation when there is any natural disaster, such that the application is still reliable from the consumer endpoint, right? So now there are certain two things that I wanted to talk about. One is called regions, and the other one is availability zone. So for the regions, you can see here, right? Based on the map, it divided into like a few. This is not the actual AWS regions, but I would say that just want to depict the concept of region itself. So you can see it's like there's like region in Asia Pacific or in Tokyo or Singapore or Sydney. These are all actually the location of the global location of where the data centers are. So within the region, for instance, right, in Singapore, when I host my application in Singapore, maybe I want to kind of like put the secondary region in Tokyo, maybe, but definitely not in the US East. Why? It's because of the latency, right? So when I meant about latency is that you can imagine if your user mostly is in Singapore and your server is in the US East, it's pretty far. So it may affect their user experience. So as the application may be a bit slow in terms of loading their pages and all those things. So you don't really want to do that. But why do you want to put like a secondary location? Like for instance, like in Tokyo, we all know the earthquake is like kind of like quite often in Japan. So, but maybe my application, mostly users are all in Japan. So I want to have less latency. So I will definitely have my data centers in Tokyo because that's the closest to where my end user are. But I probably want to think about having it in Singapore because maybe Singapore, there's no natural disaster. So it's safe. So in case something happened, my user can still access my application as the server in Singapore are safe. So this kind of like region, when I'm thinking about like the global region, when I talk about availability zone, so you can think about it, it's like even within region, all these data centers will also build within specific locations, right? It's not just like one, maybe it's, for instance, if in Tokyo, maybe not Tokyo, maybe in Asia Pacific, just only one Tokyo, but it's not really. So what they have is that maybe within Tokyo, it's not only just one data center, it may have multiple data centers. So they call it zones. It's sort of like a smaller version of region. So you'll see like from the pictures, like in Tokyo, I'm just giving you some idea of like there might be like 5 data centers, but maybe more than that. And for instance, like here in US East, so this picture extracted from AWS. So the region of US East have 3 availability zones. So you can see it's like, maybe there's 3 physical data centers in a different site, but it's within US East. Again, it's because of the latency that I mentioned. They want to ensure that you have the closest data center from where your customer is so that they can actually access the application seamlessly, right? And then now, when you talk about this, maybe I want to go through a few components on AWS that you guys will be seeing later on during the workshop to just give you like a heads up of like what are the things there. So, okay, now the first component that we wanted to talk about is IAM. This is actually stand for Identity and Access Management. As the name said, it's actually manage your identity and access to resources and services. So this is sort of like a way to authenticate and authorize a user, but on a specific AWS resources. So there are 4 elements or like 4 factors of IAM. Like you have user, you have group, role, and policy. User is pretty much like an individual user, but for group is like for a team, typically to make it easier, right? Instead of assigning a specific permission to a specific user, you want to assign it to a specific group. So it's sort of like easier to manage kind of like things. So then you have the role and policy. So policy is something that I wanted to share with you on this. This is actually the sample of policy. Within a policy, you have 4 things. You have a who, what, where, condition. What does that mean? So here, for SID, don't need to worry about it. It's an optional. But you can see how I translate this particular policy is that please allow this specific permission, which is get. I'm just going to list an object within an S3 bucket of where is this particular bucket. So I have a bucket called my example bucket. Allow it to get the object from where, right? This is the condition. So this is my source IP, or pretty much what it means is that if this is only a laptop that is accessible within this specific network, or a server that is actually within this specific network. We call it CIDR block, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. But it just means that I'm allowing this particular user, this particular host to access my example bucket. Yeah, so this is sort of like what a policy look like. And then now after the AWS, after the IAM, the next component that we want to go through is an S3. So S3 is like a simple storage service. So storage, remember hard disk, but for AWS, I don't think there's any limit for it now. So I believe they have more server to kind of like satisfy all the users. I mean, they have money. So basically, as the name says, it's like storage service. So it's actually a storage that is built to store and also recover any information from anywhere over the internet. So as long as you have an AWS account, you can access it from anywhere across the world. It's not limited to a specific region or availability zone in that sense. It's not. But something that you need to take note about S3 is that this bucket is uniquely universal, meaning if let's say there's someone who have used example bucket and created the bucket in US, you can never use this bucket anymore as the name. You need to actually have you need to have a different name. But typically when you create through your console, you should be able to see such error from AWS to say that, hey, the bucket has been created and it has existed and stuff like that. So you know what it means. You just need to change the different name. So as mentioned, you can actually put the object, store it inside S3. That means you can actually access it as well. So this is sort of like a concept whereby you have a bucket, which is called simply learn. and you created a folder, and inside that folder you have an image, right? Which is called Penguin JPEG. What happened is that once you put it into S3, you can expose this specific link so that you can access the image from the browser, for instance. So the link address of what the S3 bucket will look like, it looks like this. So which is the S3 kind of like link itself, like the S3 Amazon AWS, and then it then followed by the bucket name, and then followed by the object, like the key of like the way that AWS actually store your object. So it will be like this. So this is like how is it translated directly. And so one kind of like additional thing we wanted to share also, instead an additional content. So all this, the creation of the object, the managing of the object, they all can be done manually through console. That's about it. That's good. But as the beginning of the presentation, we mentioned about DevOps. We want to make things more efficient, faster. So there's this one concept called infrastructure as code, or IAC. So as the name said, so instead of like provisioning through manually, we are using code to actually maintain it. So there are a few tools that people generally use. And for AWS, there is something called AWS CloudFormation. So you will see this is like a snippet of how you can create an S3 bucket from CloudFormation. So yeah, I think without further ado, I think we'll pass over to Pradeepa to go through the workshop today.
Before that, thank you, Stella. I think we still have some questions. Isha,
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Is Isha here?
Elisha. Oh, do the data
Yeah.
center house in each region cost the same for end user? I don't think it's gonna be the same though, based on my understanding. But I don't really compare between different region. But I will say that but I do know, like I just heard that if you provision in US West, I think it's way cheaper as compared to the other region. So I will say that it's definitely not the same. Yeah. That's about it, right? I think that's one question, yeah?
Yeah. It's definitely not the same you mentioned.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also know that at least in the East, it's cheaper when I do, because of the price parity. So they always want to make sure that the price is fairly priced. So it's all different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the amazing session, and that was a nice story. Not everybody knows that the whole story. I had one of the sessions, one of the person attended. They asked me, "What is on-prem?" Because he started when the cloud is already mature, so they don't even know like there is something called the companies used to own the data center and all that stuff. So yeah, so this was a good introduction. Like this is where we started, and we still have, as you mentioned, the banks still use the data centers. So it's not fully cloud yet. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will start sharing my screen. Before that, I just wanted to have a quick poll. You guys have your own free tier for AWS? We sent a workshop prep. I'd just like to know how many of you have the account so you can follow along. Or I will start the session, guide the steps. And we are actually recording this session, so you can go back, and then whenever you get access, you can follow through. So I'd like to know like how many of you have the AWS access. If you can just take a quick poll, that would be great.
Okay, I saw one. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was sharing I forgot to share my screen. So it's the poll.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah. Do you have? Sure. Okay, I will assume that a few of you have. Okay, no, it's 100%. Yes, it's 50. Okay. Okay. Yeah, feel free to stop me if if I'm going faster. Uh, I will also take into account like people who are actually having the free tier will also know like very little about the AWS. So we'll start first. If you have the AWS account, can you log into your screen? This is my account. Uh, can you log into your screen and see if you can see this page? So basically, if you have access, you can just click on S3. S3 is what, as Stella mentioned, is like a storage device. So since this is my personal account, you can see that I have plenty of 26 buckets. So this is where I store the data. You can actually treat this as a Google Drive. I uploaded some of my old photos inside my bucket, so you can also use that. So as long as you create something and say that not make it as public, it's going to stay private, so no one is going to access it. So I can have my private information like my photos and everything stored, and it's not publicly accessible. So there are multiple there are ways that you can restrict access to. If you look on to my screen, right, you can see that this says that this application has public access, meaning that anybody can access my bucket. I intentionally kept it because I built an application that I wanted to, people to access it via the browser. But I have something which is like private, right? But objects and bucket are not public because I don't want people to directly access my bucket because they can read my data. Maybe I have some private data available. So today what we're going to do is that I have a simple HTML template that I already shared. Let me know if you don't have the HTML. I can pass this link in the chat. So you guys can yeah, we don't have the account, so you can follow the steps if you don't have the account. I pasted it here. You can just say Control A, Control C. So the HTML page will look like this. What I did was that I added my name just in here. Feel free to add your name in web. There is something called some name the Jane Doe heading. So you can go ahead and update it, but you can also use it like use the same page as such. You can edit it later because our intention is just first to bring this HTML page public. So if you can see this page, right, if I open it, it should look like this, the HTML page. So I just edited, so I don't wanted to show my name here. So this is your HTML page. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a bucket and put this HTML, and then I wanted to see it public. Let me go over here. Let me create a bucket. This is a storage device. Like Stella mentioned previously, you can choose to host your website in any region. They don't restrict you based on your location or whatever. So you can actually host your website in US West 1, meaning when I'm uploading this HTML somewhere there in US East, they have a data center and they have a rack, and I'm putting my HTML over there physically. So just for the ease of use, right? I don't want people to go through, all the way to the east to, get my index.html. So I've choose Singapore, and then let me give a bucket name. Let's say my portfolio website. Most likely this so for example, right, if I say testing, and if I click on create, I'm just going to demonstrate that testing someone would have automatically created. So it will show, see, there is a bucket with the same name already exists. It will not tell you who has the ownership and all the stuff. bucket name has to be unique. The reason being that it is served via a domain. For example, you cannot have, your name, I cannot host something on google.com, right? So bucket names are something that is served over like a website, right? So they wanted to be unique. So I have to choose a name that's unique. So let's say I do Women Who Code Singapore portfolio, maybe March, right? I try to make it unique so that they don't have can have it available. The next one is like I'm the whole purpose of me creating the website is that this is accessible via the browser. So I have to give everyone a read access to the bucket, and because I don't want someone to put some image or whatever. This is my website, right? I wanted to control what the content goes in, but since it's my website, I wanted everyone to read. So the whole purpose of me creating the portfolio like this is like maybe I go to an interview and then I want to share it. And my purpose is like this website should be accessible to the person who is seeing. So what I'm going to do is that I have to enable access for everyone. By default, the AWS provides, the S3 provides that, they don't want anyone like, who is actually trying or, by accident, leave the bucket open to public and have some confidential information. There are some scenarios where it has happened. So they have enabled the policy, and by default, they stop accessing from the public. So what I have to do is like my intention is I wanted to enable access. So I will say enable access. So now it's triggering a warning because you have to acknowledge what you're making this. It's a risk. So it says like you have to recommends you turn on public block all public access unless public access is required for specific use case. For my use case, I am using the static website hosting. So I'm going to say I acknowledge, yeah, I know the risk I'm taking. And it has to be, it's not like do not do it, but just do it if you know what you're doing, right? So they just wanted to warn you. So all I have done is like gave the bucket name and enabling the public access. Let me create a bucket and I will show you what will happen. Okay, so this is my bucket. I don't have anything available. Let me know if I'm going faster. Please leave me in the chat so I can actually go back and whoever is doing, I can guide you. So I have created a folder actually. Now I have to upload my HTML, which I have now, and then maybe I upload it. This is the HTML which I show, which will render like this. Like this. Let me go here. Okay, it's uploaded, and let me upload it. Though we have enabled the public access, we have to exercise caution because we are actually making something public. So we have two more steps. So the AWS has mentioned to follow through to host this page. Let's say, for example, I click on this line. I can't access anything. I cannot directly go here. There's no access point for me to access. So what I should do now is that if you want some, you can verify. You cannot they will give you some URL, but this is not the URL we are going to access. But since it's HTTP, I'm just going to give a try. I want to show you why this will not. So basically, it says that even though I have enabled access, I uploaded the file. It's not yet ready for public viewing. So they need one more step to enable this. We have good until so far. So what I have done is like there is an option called static. I think it's a permission. Should be in the additional settings. Give me a moment. I had to figure it out. I have enabled access object log. And if we go to the permissions, we need to enable static website. This is the real demo. You know? If it doesn't work, that's real. Let me go to, okay, it should be, there should be an option. Enabling. Yeah, okay. I didn't scroll fully. So this is the static website hosting. I don't know why it doesn't show up in there. So you have to enable static website hosting. So now I say enable, and then they ask me what, like whenever they create a domain name, right? For example, I'll show you something here. Let's say this one. This website. And if I click on it, we have to tell the server what file I have to render. So that's the configuration. So you said I wanted to make my folder accessible via the website, which is this domain name. They will give you some domain name, but they wanted to know when someone accesses this domain name, what is the file that you have to render. Now I have actually uploaded a file called index.html. So I'm saying like if someone accesses this object, this bucket via public, then give them the index.html. But if you upload a different file name like home.html, whatever, you have to give this. So as mentioned, error is optional. If something error happens, they want to know like, let's say, sorry, you have landed the wrong page or something, you can provide. I'm just going to leave everything as is and then say save changes. Okay, now if you go to objects, let me quickly check. Since I have enabled, it will give me a domain name. So if you think that we are ready, it's not. Let me check. Okay, so they gave us my website. They gave a URL, which is my, the bucket name. And then they added something called S3 website. And then since it's hosted in this particular region, it gave me AP Southeast 1. So if you're wondering what is this, right? They gave all the regions some names. For example, US West 1, US West 2. So if you want to try, you can go to this region and then, click on the create a bucket. You can actually click on create bucket and choose one of this region. This endpoint will change. So it's your bucket name slash, the .website and something. You can still customize this, but we are actually just using the free tier. We wanted to go with, whatever free is available. So they're actually hosting our page in, Amazon.com domain, AWS.com domain. Why it's still not ready? Because we enabled public access and we enabled hosting. But AWS has one more thing called policy, which Stella covered, like how you can only specify this particular file is only available for this particular IP. So what I'm going to do now is that I need to update a policy and then tell them that what is the tell them that everybody who can. I think you will learn more about this policy in the format. But what I can tell them is like anybody who is accessing this website can read my file, right? Can get my data. But there are multiple ways that in S3, there are multiple operations available. For example, I have a bucket, I made it public, but let's say I wanted someone to, upload a video. Or, let's say something like I wanted someone to, submit a form and then send me the data or whatever. If I want someone to, send me some data and then I wanted to store, then normally what I'll do is like, I will say put up, and like instead of get, I will say put. But since this is a website, we have to give as minimum as restrictions as possible. So now I'm saying S3 testing, and this resource is what the bucket means. So if we are at the final step, okay, I'm going to copy the bucket. Since it's a breadcrumb, it actually took me somewhere. So let me check. Yeah, it doesn't contain my. Yeah, just put it here so I don't lose it. I copy here, and what happens that if I don't write the proper policy here, for example, let's say I added some, test, column test or something, it will fail. It will highlight and tell me, what, I don't understand what you have mentioned. So there is a proper definition for why this has to be something, but it is as plain as in English. So it's like you are actually allowing this person, anybody, and then we are saying like they can do access this object only on this. So I have like 26 or 27 buckets, right? They cannot access everything. But if I give them star like this, it means that everyone can this person can access my other bucket as well, right? I mean, my other bucket is public open. So I'm just restricting for this bucket only a person who can read this object, like only read this. So let me not delete further, save the changes. We made the last mile. So what we have to do is like just go to the endpoint. I think it's already here. Let's refresh and see what's all. You got your own website. So there are multiple ways. There are three ways to have your own website. All you have to do is like just have your own HTML file, and then upload it. The S3 is just one option, and also AWS has multiple options to host your website. Like we can do the same thing. We have something, we haven't introduced all these services. I just don't want to overwhelm you people, but since it's the general knowledge, S3 is just one of the way to host your static website. There is containers, there is EC2. There are multiple ways that you can do it. But if you are curious, just search for GitHub if you want to learn more. So GitHub called Pages, where so AWS, there is one option. If you have to have a free tier, you have to sign up for the account with your credit card. But for GitHub, you can actually host the HTML page, whatever I showed you. To start first, if you want to build your own portfolio, just download the template, build your skills, put it in GitHub, and then build your portfolio. That's another option. That's all I have for today. Anyone else following along? Did I go faster? Do you have any questions for me? All right. Stella, do you want?
One of them, I think one of them was asking where they can find the code for the bucket policy.
Okay,
so he was asking.
Okay, yeah, I can share the policy in the chat now if you want. But I actually put it in my GitHub. I'll share the thing. So this is the policy.
Can you share your GitHub with them though? I think that one of them was asking whether there'll be a document for this. I think maybe your GitHub page will be better, a good documentation.
Yeah, I will share it. It has the HTML and this policy, so I'll share.
That would be awesome, folks. Yeah.
Stella, do you want to take over the slide and then get the sliders?
Sure. Yes. Hold on for a bit. Find my desktop. Okay. Alrighty. All right, folks, we need you to go to slido.com and then help us to answer this question. mostly from Meetup. Oh, okay. Before friends.
So we got one to friend, LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We just wanted to focus our effort on all these things. That we do have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and this is for information to follow us. We post it there also.
Yeah.
So
Might have a few more.
yeah. No, just looking. I had multiple repositories, so I'm just looking for it. Maybe I will send the GitHub repository in the email via the meetup, so you guys can receive it. And I'll also post in LinkedIn the repo.
Okay.
So waiting for it. Yeah. Let me check if I can get it.
Someone say that there's no Slack for women who code. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. I think someone just said there's an issue with the policy code, unknown error. Policy has invalid resource. I think
You have to
Joey
change the
for
bucket name. No, you have to
yeah.
change the bucket
So
name. Yeah.
correct. So you shouldn't use the WWC testing. You should use the bucket that you've created. Managed to fix it. Amazing. All right.
Wow.
Don't worry.
Okay. Let me know
All
if it's
right.
successful.
So
Just post this on LinkedIn or whatever tag is, so we will know that.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oops. All right. I think then next one. Like everybody, yeah. Yes. Anyone? No, I think so. All right. So then, where's my question and answer go? Is there some error in the Slido? I'm hoping for question and answer here. All right. I guess yes. Now time to open the floor. Anyone can have any question? We're happy to answer it. But how's the session so far though, folks? If we can see some thumbs up or thumbs down, sadly, that would be great. I don't think it's loaded. Yeah, this particular. Oh, I think there's one question. Oh, somehow now I can see Slido. Okay, hold on. Oh, thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah, I see. It's loaded now. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Will my portfolio still be accessible when my free tier period is over? I think it will still be though, right? Pradeepa, I think it will
Yeah.
still be accessible.
So the free tier, they give you access like you know how many how long is it using? Like once you finish the free tier, you will be charged. But if it's just your HTML and this thing, the S3 has even after the free tier, there are some like the pricing is like $0.001 or something like that. So your portfolio will not be, it will be chargeable. Is that it's what it is? But S3 is like very minimal charge. But if you don't have very large storage, but just index.html, you'll be charged in 0.00001 cents, depending on how many times people accessed it. If you're a popular person, if you wanted to be, then you have to. It's a good problem. Then you have to pay for the storage.
Yep.
Any other
question? Yeah. Should I wait? Hold on. Just trying to load this. I think we are good. Hello?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we can wrap up the session.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're under time. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you got something
Yeah,
out of
and
the session.
yeah, and feel free to reach out to any one of us as well on LinkedIn, which I think I think we can share our LinkedIn
Yeah, I think
link.
I need to get mine, but yeah. But follow us in Women Who Code.
Yes.
We will be there always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll drop my
And
LinkedIn portfolio. So, yeah.
yes, I also need to wait time. Okay, since it's here. Yeah, I'm going to reach out. And if you have any feedback with regards to how we can improve and what are the different things that you want us to cover in the next workshop, to let us know as well.
We are here to, help you. So you just have to ask and provide you and
Yep.
change the format.
Yep.
Stella, do we have a feedback form or is that it? Right.
Yeah, that's it.
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks everyone. See you all again in another format of workshop. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.